Welcome to the Floridaville Express. This show is hosted and produced by the team at Rocket Ship Consultants, and it's based on our popular podcast, The Floridaville. The Floridaville Express is a condensed show with all the elements Floridaville audiences have come to love. Each week, we highlight people who are making an impact on Florida. We interview entrepreneurs, politicians, authors, small business owners, professionals, and people who are making our Sunshine State shine. I'm Jean Curtin, an attorney, certified mediator, and business partnerships director with Rocket Ship Consultants.
And I'm Joy Tootle. I'm an attorney, a content creator, video show producer, podcast editor, and the operations director for Rocket Ship. We're a strategic communications firm, and our mission is to launch your business or organization to the next level.
Our guest tonight is Ted Fischer, CEO and co-founder of Ageless Innovation. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I should probably announce that I'm not an attorney.
You can play one tonight.
Okay, good.
Ted, what is Ageless Innovation and how did it come into being?
Yeah, so Ageless Innovation, I always start with our purpose, which is to reimagine how we positively live and age together by unleashing the power of play. We're basically a product company, an experience company, trying to use the fun, joyful, playful side of aging in a way that helps positively impact the way people are living their lives. And so the short story is about 6 years ago, I was brought into Hasbro, one of the world's largest toy companies, to think about ways to leverage their assets in new markets and new channels. And our team was tasked with thinking about, what basically meant not, in the toy aisle, for in big box retail, which is what they didn't need anybody to do. They're very good at that. But they thought there are other markets where the things that they were really great at, would probably add value. And so I looked at their assets, not just as their brands, but as their ability to engage and gamify and create meaningful connections and those type of things. And so we chose health and wellness as the biggest bucket where we wanted to focus our attention and think about, were there unintended end users to the products that Hasbro had created in the past, or unintended end uses? After doing a bunch of research, we found that about 20 years earlier, there was a product that was actually created for 4 to 8-year-old girls. That was an animatronic toy. And about 15-20% of the reviews were mom not buying it for their 4 to 8-year-old daughter, but buying it for an aging loved one. And so we dug into that insight, and we found after speaking to older adults all over the country in this sort of what I call guerrilla marketing research project that we did, that there were two things. One, older adults wanted more play and fun and joy in their life, unequivocally. Almost everyone to the T said the same thing. And two, there was a real need for interactive companionship. There was a lot of loneliness and isolation and other things that were, impacting older adults as we go through this incredible boom right now with the, baby boomers turning 65 and over. Today there's 50 million Americans over the age of 65, and then by 2050 there'll be 100 million. So you see those numbers increasing, and with that, unfortunately, these issues like loneliness and isolation and dementia, and Alzheimer's are growing exponentially as well. And so as we leaned into the insights, we did a lot of research, and we realized very quickly that we at Hasbro were not experts in older adults. So we decided that the only way to figure out what they really wanted was to go out and ask them. So our products today, we launched a line of companion pets. They're animatronic or robotic pets that have, I think, realistic features. And the feature set that we created were all things that we heard from older adults. Things like our bark back technology in our puppy, which, it's sound activated. So when you talk, it listens and then it barks back in sort of a similar length to the, so you're basically interacting. In our cat. We heard all the time that when cats purr, they actually physically vibrate. And so there was this tactile thing. So we created something called VibraPurr. And so when our cat purrs, it actually vibrates. And so it's this give and take relationship that we tried to create with our companion pets. And we ran it, pretty successfully within Hasbro for 3 years. And then we got the opportunity, my team and I, to take it outside of Hasbro. We did a management spin out, very friendly with the company, and created Ageless Innovation. And then we acquired the Joy for All products. And so for the past 3 years, we've been running the company as our own company and working with great partners like the state of Florida. And it's been an incredibly fun ride so far.
So you started with Hasbro and then moved into Ageless Innovation, a spinoff, you said, from Hasbro, and now Joy for All is the company name that provides these pets,
yeah, so
these companion pets?
Ageless Innovation is the company, and the brand is called Joy for All.
Brand,
So
okay.
when we were at Hasbro, we launched the Joy for All brand. And so when we left and we started the company Ageless Innovation, that's what acquired the brand from Hasbro. And so now we own it 100%. And it's the Joy for All line is now about to expand. So it's pretty exciting.
That is exciting. And I love the out-of-the-box thinking to get where you've gotten with these companion pet cats and pups. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about these furry robotic pets, what they do, the important work they do? And maybe you can show us, looks like you have a little pet beside you there.
Yeah, I do. If I can turn him on, but then I'll turn him off because no one will pay attention to me if he stays on. Because so this is our freckled pup, and he's
cute.
Yeah, he's a good boy, and I think there's a lot of people that he makes happy. I'll talk a bit about the feature set outside of the ones that I talked about. What we were really going for was the opportunity for people to experience this joy and companionship. The epidemic of loneliness and isolation was happening well before the pandemic, but the pandemic showed an incredible spotlight on it. And what we knew is that as people moved further from their families and families separated a little bit further, there's less and less interaction. People get older, they move into new residential situations, they can't have their old pets. And so what we try to do is realism. I mean, I remember when we were designing these products, we were sitting in meetings and people were talking to me about paw pads. Now, I never was in a meeting about paw pads before, but dogs have paw pads, and so therefore our dog has paw pads. And on the cat, the whiskers on most toys, are sort of straight whiskered. Cats actually have tapered whiskers; they're not the same length, so we had to create a tapered whisker. So it is attention to detail like that, that I think has been what's been so positive about the reaction, is that people really do. They receive these pets, they name them, and the magic starts to happen, and they bond with them, they form relationships. And we're not trying to fool people into thinking that they're real. What we're trying to do is really address a need, and the need is really just need for interactive companionship. And so, listen, if you could have a real pet, we think that's fantastic, and that's great. What we do know is there are a lot of people who can't. And therefore they shouldn't have to go without. So we've tried to create something that gives them that same benefit.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about some of the incredible detail that went into the design process. Were there prototypes? How did the design process work?
Yeah, so as I said, we really the initial foundation was based on an animatronic toy that had already been created, and that was out there. And that 20 years before I got to Hasbro, they were designing wonderful products like this, but for obviously for a different sort of category. And when we went and we brought some of those older, out of the vault, we brought some of the older products, and they didn't have quite the realism. They didn't have a lot of those things. So we kept trying to improve on what we could create in terms of pet. And those lines were more toyetic. They were intended to be toys. We were trying to create something. We don't call them toys. We call them companion pets. And so with that mindset, what we were trying to do is really iterate, go out to see the older adults who had helped us design it, get the feedback, go back. And so that process went on for, about 6 months. And we finally got to a place where we felt like, the feature set, like in the pup, it has a heartbeat that as it sort of calms down and stops acting like a pup, it wags its tail, it moves its head to, where it hears your voice, it'll move its head towards you. And, the cat will preen or roll over. And, cats, and what we heard about cats from our older adults that helped us was that they never do what you want them to do when you want them to do it. So our cats have a completely random play pattern. So you could pet it on a sensor and it may roll over or it may not, and it may meow and it may not. It may, so people seem to appreciate the fact that, we sort of captured that fickleness of cats. Just we took out the claws and the looks of disdain. We took those out. So.
And I mean, I've had the opportunity to hold both a cat and a pup, and it's true. That was one of the things that so surprised me pleasantly, was because I have a cat, and when the cat purrs, you feel it, and that is just amazing that level of detail has gone into these companion pets.
Yeah, and I think that so we made plenty of mistakes, and so that tactile piece was so important to people, right? And so the interaction isn't just you talk to something, it sort of gives you a sound back, but there's a real sort of, the puppy will kind of nuzzle a bit. It'll give you a little, and the sounds that it makes are, sort of what a pup might do if it was coming in that direction. And so, I think one of the things we heard early on in the first, sort of batch of products that we sent out, people kept saying, we need a brush. We need to have a brush. We need to brush our pet. And we were like, oh man, could we forget a brush? So in the second wave, there was a brush included. And even that was a process. We went out to older adults to make sure it could fit in their hand. And, it wasn't just as simple as sort of putting a brush in there. We tried to go out there and be thoughtful about, who was using it and how they were going to use it. But it was a hugely important part because, again, it goes back to that tactile interaction piece. They feel like they're caring for something, and then they're getting the reciprocal sort of love and purring and petting back. So it's good.
Great. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to learn more about Ageless Innovation's Joy for All companion pets.
At Rocket Ship Consultants, our mission is to take your organization to the next level. Our team develops strategic communication plans that help entrepreneurs, corporations, associations, and individuals reach new heights. Our consulting team is made up of attorneys with additional experience in journalism, public relations, politics, broadcasting, and advocacy. Let us help you take that dream you have for a podcast or video show and make it into a reality. We can create networking opportunities, educational forums, and interactive conferences to spread your message. Let our team provide you with fresh ideas and inspiration. Rocket Ship Consultants offers a variety of services, so check out our website at rocketshipconsultants.com. Take off with Rocket Ship Consultants and launch your organization with us.
Welcome back to the Floridaville Express. Today, we are speaking with Ted Fischer. He's CEO and co-founder of Ageless Innovation. And Ted has shared with us about Joy for All and the robotic companion pets. Can you tell us more? What were the customer reviews of the cats and the pups?
Yeah, so we launched in 2015. And actually, we were slated to launch at the beginning of 2016. We were a little ahead of schedule. We launched the cat first. So in fourth quarter of 2015, we launched, and it was going to be Hasbro's first ever product only sold online. So we weren't going to, because it's a different aisle, right? And to this day, in most places, there's not really an aisle for our product, right? But we've addressed that issue. But going back to sort of that launch period, about 2 weeks before launch, I had this nightmare that no one would ever go to a place called joyforall.com and buy anything. So we convinced, I called our folks who sold into Amazon. I said, do you think they would just buy a couple and put it on there and just say also available on Amazon to give it a little credibility? And so they thought it was a great idea. They took, a bunch of them in. We launched, we got a ton of great media and press about it, which was very positive. And Amazon sold out in 48 hours. And 48 hours, I had an order for like 5 times or 10 times what the original order was. So I thought that was it. We hit the jackpot. But what that enabled is for us to get customer reviews pretty quickly, as Amazon users are apt to do. And they were, even to this day, with tens of thousands now, we're 80-something% 5-star and over 90% 4s and 5s. And what we spend a ton of time as a team reading the testimonials and the reviews, good and bad. Luckily, they're mostly good. And what I say all the time is, listen, when I was at Hasbro, Nerf was, one of the hottest brands, still is obviously one of the hot brands. But when you read the reviews on Nerf, it's kids and they love toys and they love playing with Nerf blasters and they love to. But when you read the Joy for All reviews, literally you did it with a tear in your eye, like they'd make you cry. They were like, people were talking about this incredible impact that this, what I consider a very simple product, was having. And really what I attributed to, and as we were doing the early sort of research, I think the day that the team and I were convinced that we were on to something, we had this place at Hasbro called the Fun Lab. And the Fun Lab typically, it was set up like different rooms in your house, and when glass walls and, mirrors and product teams on one side, and brought in kids and they'd see, is it an easy get, or do you need directions, or what do they gravitate to, and all those type of things. Well, our group was obviously quite a bit different the day we brought our older adults into the Fun Lab. And there was this extra sense of joy. And even the people that work in the Fun Lab, which was a very cool job, you get to see, kids playing with toys just about every day and the new concepts, that kind of stuff. It was, the two women that run the lab basically said, this was one of the best days we'd ever had. And we were trying to figure out what it was. And the reality is kids love to play with toys, but they expect it. The added joy the day that we brought our population into the Fun Lab was not just that they were having fun, they were so excited that someone was thinking about them in this way, in a way that, honored the fact that they want to play and they want to have fun and they want to do these things. And so we left that Fun Lab that day thinking, there is something here, the magic, the spark, the enthusiasm, the excitement. And so, fast forward to today, at least once a week we get together and everybody picks like a review that they found somewhere, a letter or a testimony that came in, and we sit around and we read them, and it keeps us grounded in why we do what we do. It's a pretty happy place to work, which is fun. But it really is meaningful and impactful, and we never take that for granted, and it never gets old. It's really such a blessing.
Is there research that supports the anecdotal evidence about how effective the companion cats and pups are?
Yeah, so we were really surprised in the first couple of years. There was a ton of anecdotal evidence that talked about the positive impact, and that started to catch the eye of clinicians and academics who were seeing these pets pop up in places where they typically weren't, with some really interesting, sort of impact on folks with Alzheimer's and dementia, and folks who had been chronically depressed or lonely or isolated, those type of things. And so we now have probably a dozen published, peer-reviewed, journal or academic or clinical papers that have been written, really validating the impact on those use cases. The biggest of those was done by United Healthcare and AARP, with a pretty significant population focused on people who had self-identified as lonely or isolated inside of their Medicare population, and the outcomes were just fantastic. I mean, on our website, you can read, we have a white paper that sort of summarizes, the 10 or 12 research publications, and then you can access the full research papers if you're interested. But it's really validating in terms of, and I think it's been one of the key ingredients to our success in the state, partnerships like the state of Florida.
So you just mentioned the important partnership you have with the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I was fortunate. Secretary Pridham and I spoke. We were both speakers at a Alzheimer's community care event down in the Palm Beach area about almost 2 years ago, right? Just about now, about 2 years ago. And we got to sit at the same table and have a little, lunch together before he spoke and then I spoke. And he was very interested in what we were doing, and, thought it was unique and different and sounded great. And there were some, folks in the audience who stood up and talked about how they were given one of these and it changed their, this one woman gave a story that I think would have just made anybody cry. And so we stayed in touch for a year, and then the pandemic happened. And Secretary Purnam reached out to me and said, listen, we're about to face a larger epidemic inside of the pandemic of loneliness and isolation with our older adults in the state of Florida, and we need to do something. We've got a great program going. We got 2 or 3 different ways that we're going to try and help keep our older adults connected, and we'd like, the Joy for All companion pets to be part of that. And it has been the most, and certainly one of the most meaningful partnerships that we have. And they've, Florida has made it available to those who self-identify as lonely or isolated during this time. And it's been going on for just about a year right now, and has become a very significant and meaningful partnership. And it's led to a number of other partnerships thanks to the advocacy of Secretary Purnam and the office. So it's been a great partnership.
So you do have other partnerships with other states across the country?
We do. It started, New York and Florida were first. And we started talking about it quite a bit in those early days of COVID, because other states were, dealing with the same loneliness and isolation issues. And, we all wanted to help those most in need. And so they started speaking about it on their weekly calls with other, heads of or secretaries of Office of Aging. There's every state calls it something different. But in those meetings, Greg and Secretary Purnam, they couldn't say enough about the immediate impact that they were seeing in these programs. And so that led to, Alabama, and then Hawaii, and now we have 17 state partnerships and growing. And so the great news is that it continues to be meaningfully impactful and gets a lot of coverage in press, which is spreading the word, which is helping us. We're dealing with 17 states and hundreds of AAAs within those states, and most importantly, reaching those most in need during this time.
So what's next for Ageless Innovation?
Yeah, we've got a pretty robust roadmap, product roadmap, and so we've been working on some things. And as I tell people, in year one after acquiring the company and taking out of Hasbro, it was like just keep the oars in the water and keep rowing in the same direction, so to make sure that we're still here year 2. And since then, we've really put a huge amount of focus on where are the areas where fun and joy and play and things that we're good at in terms of engaging and helping people. And we've identified a couple of other important need states that I think we've got some exciting news in the next few weeks coming out about a new product. And I'm not going to go too much further there because my marketing team will kill me. But we're really excited about it. And we've been working on some games and some other things that we think will be fun and impactful and help create. One of the great things about these products is that what we found is it hasn't just been great for the older adult recipient. It's been great for their caregivers and their loved ones and their families, and help create bridge difficult situations and sort of add an element. We have many, sort of what evidence, or a lot of evidence, I should say, of folks that were, had to, with Alzheimer's, that take psychotropic medication to calm education, those type of things. Instead of doing that, now they're giving them their pet, and they whistle and go on their way and happily, through transitions. And so, it's those type of sort of meaningful interactions that sort of drive us to where do we want to go, and how do we want to help people and grow more. So
I'm excited to hear about some of these new things that are coming out. So if our audience wants to find out more about this and learn more about the companion pets that you have and the other products that you're coming out with, how should they go about following up with you?
Yeah, so joyforall.com, JOYFORALL.com, is a place where you could sort of do the research on the pets. You can read testimonials, you can read about the features, you can order from there as well. We sell in many of the retailers like Amazon, CVS, Best Buy, and a number of others around the country and around the world. We now have we serve about 30 countries globally, which is exciting. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about the organization and the team, agelessinnovation.com is another place where you can find out. And there's links to each between Joy for All and Ageless. They connect. So yeah, and we have a great team of folks that really make all the magic happen behind this. I just get to sit here and talk about it, which is pretty nice.
The fun job.
I do.
Ted, thank you so much to you and really the entire team at Ageless Innovation. This is such important work, combating isolation and loneliness and truly bringing joy and fun to people of all ages as well as their families. It's just great work and exciting, and we're thrilled that you joined us tonight and can't wait to hear about your new launches, whatever those might be.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and I love our relationship with the state of Florida, and nothing makes me happier that we're having impact with lots of your residents, and we hope to be doing that together for a long time. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, that wraps up tonight's episode of the Floridaville Express. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern to catch our show live. Next Monday, we'll be speaking with Sharon James, CEO and founder of Impact Food. And remember, you can watch previous episodes of the Floridaville Express on our YouTube channel and on Facebook.
Have you been looking for a way to expand the strength and reach of your company's brand? Well, Rocket Ship Consultants can help you with that. We can create a video show or a podcast like this one for you. Also, we have some sponsorship opportunities available if you'd like to sponsor our show. We can highlight your company or organization, and this will create positive long-term brand awareness. It's just one tool to keep your organization connected and relevant. We have a variety of sponsorship packages to meet every organization's needs and budget. Reach out to us if you know of someone who would make a great guest for the Floridaville Express. We love highlighting people and organizations making a positive impact on Florida and in our community. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.